Imagine, if you will, the grand royal palace of planet Zerar, where the air hangs heavy with ancient tradition and the weight of countless political machinations. Two teams stand on opposite sides of a vast chamber, separated by gleaming marble floors that have witnessed centuries of royal decrees and fateful decisions. The tension between them is palpable, like electricity before a storm. On one side stands Henry Lee and his human engineers, a team from Earth who've staked everything on this moment. Their faces betray a mix of confidence and anxiety as they meticulously check their battle armor prototype, a marvel of human ingenuity with cutting-edge stealth technology and neural interfaces that would make any military commander salivate. Henry can feel the weight of his team's expectations pressing down on him heavier than the armor he wears. On the other side, a team of knives, aliens whose pink skin adorned with flowing white stripes gives them an almost ethereal appearance. They move with a natural grace that makes the humans look clumsy by comparison, their elongated features and pointed ears lending them an air of exotic mystery. The knives exude confidence, their postures speaking of certainty and their superiority. Both teams are vying for a contract worth billions of credits to supply Zorar's royal army with battle armor, and the stakes couldn't be higher. For Henry, this isn't just a business deal. It's validation of years of sacrifice, sleepless nights hunched over blueprints, and the risk of his entire life savings. For the knives, it's a chance to expand their influence beyond their star system and prove their technological supremacy. The chamber echoes with the metallic sounds of final adjustments as Lucas, Henry's lead technician, ensures every system is functioning perfectly. His fingers dance across connection points with practiced precision, the culmination of thousands of hours of development. Active stealth module is green across the board, Lucas mutters, his breath warm against Henry's ear as he makes the final calibrations. Aimbot systems are calibrated to your reflexes. Should give you a 0.7-second advantage on target acquisition. There's pride in his voice. This is their masterpiece. The armor that could change everything. As Henry's tactical overlay activates, streaming data cascades across his vision like a waterfall of information. The HUD highlights potential threats, analyzes structural weaknesses, and tracks a dozen other metrics simultaneously. But as his gaze sweeps the chamber, the sophisticated technology becomes secondary to what he sees with his own eyes. Yari, the leader of the NIV team, even through her bulky prototype armor, she carries herself with the posture of a warrior born, spine straight and shoulders back. There's something magnetic about her presence, commanding attention without effort. Her elongated features and pointed ears give her an almost elvish appearance, exotic and compelling. Their eyes meet across the distance, and her thin lips curve into a mischievous smile that makes Henry's pulse quicken beneath the armor's biomonitors. Something passes between them in that moment: recognition, challenge, perhaps something more. The moment shatters when the massive doors to the chamber grind open with an ancient sound designed to inspire awe and intimidation. The Queen of Zorar enters with her entourage flowing behind her like a tide of silken ceremony. Her blue skin is weathered with age, short horns protruding from her skull where hair might grow on a human. The gray undertones in her complexion speak of decades, perhaps centuries of rule and the weariness that comes with it. She ascends her throne with unhurried steps, her robes trailing behind her, pressing into the cushioned floor, her expression one of utter disinterest in the proceedings. The Queen doesn't even bother to look directly at the competitors when she finally speaks, her tone filled with the kind of disrespect reserved for servants who have tracked mud through the palace. You too, the armor makers. Present yourselves. Henry's team clusters around him, hands patting his shoulders, voices overlapping with whispered encouragement. You've got this, Lucas says. Show them what Earth can do, adds another. They practically push him toward the platform before the throne, their nervous energy propelling him forward. Across the chamber, Yari receives no such warmth. The other knives regard her with cold, calculating eyes, not encouragement, but expectation weighing in their gazes. Yet Henry can see the determination that hardens her features as she strides toward the platform. Undaunted by the pressure, Yari steps forward first, her voice ringing with confidence as she extols the virtues of Niv Defensive Systems armor. Your Majesty, the Niv Defensive Systems armor represents the pinnacle of protective technology. Her words flow like music, hypnotic in their rhythm. Our suit is completely heat-resistant, indestructible, water-resistant to pressures found in the deepest ocean trenches, fire-resistant to temperatures that would melt rocks. She moves as she speaks, the armor responding fluidly to demonstrate its flexibility, a dance of technology and grace. Internal temperature control keeps the wearer comfortable in any environment. From the frozen wastelands to volcanic chambers, the strength enhancement triples the wearer's natural muscle strength, while our speed augmentation reduces reaction time by 60%. She pauses, turning to look directly at Henry with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. And unlike some others, she says, her tone dripping with false sweetness, it looks good on you. Henry catches the worried glances from his team. Lucas is biting his lip. Lauren clutches her tablet tighter, and the others shift nervously. He can feel the momentum shifting against him, Yari's confident delivery putting him on the defensive. But Henry Lee hadn't gotten this far by folding under pressure. He steps forward, letting his armor's heavier footfalls echo through the chamber, a reminder of its substantial power. Your Majesty, while the Niv armor certainly has its merits, the human exorphium system offers abilities that transcend mere resistance to elements. He activates the 3D projector, displays materializing around him like conjured spirits, showing the armor's capabilities in vivid detail. Our stealth technology doesn't just hide you. It makes you effectively invisible across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. The tactical overlay provides real-time weakness analysis of any opponent, turning every soldier into a master strategist. The display shifts, showing various vision modes, cycling through each one, revealing a different layer of reality. We offer more vision modes than any warrior could hope to use. Thermal, electromagnetic, heat detection, and many others. He turns to Yari, matching her earlier smile with one of his own, a challenge accepted. And while I can't deny the Niv armor looks good on her, I fail to understand what looks matter when you're invisible on the battlefield. His team gives him a subtle thumbs up, relief visible on their faces. Across the platform, Yari's confident expression shows a flicker of worry, and her team begins whispering among themselves. The Queen turns to her advisors, and what follows is perhaps the most disinterested discussion of military technology Henry has ever witnessed. The advisor speaks in low tones while the Queen examines her fingernails, occasionally nodding or shaking her head as if they were discussing the weather rather than the fate of billions in contracts. Finally, she speaks, her voice filled with royal boredom. Both sides speak wonders, she drawls. But words are wind. I cannot choose before seeing how they fare in combat. The words hang in the air like a death sentence, and Henry's stomach drops. His mind races through the implications, the unfinished systems, the untested combat protocols, the thousand things that could go wrong. This is still a prototype, untested in real combat conditions. They'd prepared for a demonstration, a sales pitch, not a fight. The Queen's demand hangs in the air like a guillotine blade about to drop. Henry tries to reason with her, keeping the desperation from his voice. Your Majesty, with respect, this armor is still in prototype phase. While I have complete confidence in its capabilities, we need a few more days for final adjustments. Combat wasn't part of our original agreement. He turns to look at Yari, hoping for support in this unexpected development, and adds what he thinks is a reasonable point. And besides, you can't expect me to fight a woman. The change in Yari's posture is instant and dramatic, like a predator switching from rest to hunt in a heartbeat. Her spine straightens, her hands curl into fists, and Henry can practically feel the temperature drop around her. From behind him, he hears Lauren's voice, low but carrying clearly through his calm. "Oh, Henry, you shouldn't have said that." He doesn't even see the punch coming. One moment he's standing, trying to look diplomatic, and the next he's flat on his back, his head ringing from the impact of Yari's armored fist against his faceplate. The technical overlay goes crazy, warnings flashing about incoming threats and structural impacts. Stars dance across his vision, and a realization crystallizes in his mind with perfect clarity. He has perhaps gotten himself into a very bad situation. He rolls to his feet, servos whining in protest, just in time to dodge another swing from Yari. Her face throughout her helmet is a mask of controlled fury, her eyes blazing with intensity. "You think I can't fight you because I'm a woman?" She snarls, her voice a beautiful, terrible thing. "Let me give you a personal demonstration." Henry backpedals, his mind switching from sales mode to survival mode. The audience watches with rapt attention. Even the Queen has leaned forward slightly, her boredom replaced by a spark of interest. He circles Yari carefully, testing her reactions, watching how she moves in the armor. Each step is a calculation, each movement analyzed by his training and the armor systems. "Nice sucker punch," he calls out, trying to keep his voice light even as his heart pounds against his ribs. "Do they teach that in Niv school?" "They teach us to finish fights," she shoots back, lunging forward with a combination that would have been devastating if it had connected. Unlike humans, who apparently just talk. Henry ducks under her swing, his armor's predictive systems finally catching up to the situation. The display highlights weak points in her stance, potential openings in her guard. He sees them all, but hesitates to exploit them. This isn't a real fight, after all. This is a demonstration gone horribly wrong. "Oh, we can do more than talk," he says, then activates his stealth mode. The shimmer starts at his feet and ripples upward, his form becoming translucent, then transparent, then gone entirely, the crown jewel of human technology on full display. Yari spins, her helmet turning frantically as she tries to track him. The audience gasps. Even the Queen leans forward with genuine interest now. Here is something new, something unexpected, the invisible human warrior. Henry circles her silently, his footfalls dampened by the armor's acoustic suppression. Then, quick as thought, he reaches out and taps her helmet. "Over here," he whispers, his voice projected to seem like it comes from everywhere at once. A ghost in the chamber. She whirls, swinging at empty air. He's already behind her, tapping on her back. "Nope, over here now. Stop playing games." She shouts, frustration bleeding through her professional composure, her movements becoming less controlled, more desperate. "But games are fun," Henry says, and in a moment of cockiness that he'll later regret, adds, "I could have slapped lower if I wanted." The armor leaves some interesting gaps in coverage. That was his mistake. Yari stops moving entirely, her body going still in a way that should have warned him, a calm before a storm. When he comes in for another tap, she moves with lightning speed, her hands shooting out to grab where she predicts he'll be based on his pattern. Her fingers close on his invisible arm, and before he can react, she's locked him into a grappling hold. The stealth field flickers and dies as they crash to the ground together. Neither of them actual warriors, despite their armor. What follows is less a dignified combat between advanced military technologies and more like watching two children wrestle over a toy. They roll across the platform, each trying to gain advantage, armor scraping against armor with horrible grinding sounds. Henry tries to use his overlay to find a weakness, but Yari keeps moving too erratically. She attempts to use her strength enhancement to overpower him, But his armor compensates automatically. They're locked in an ungainly tangle of limbs, both breathing hard, when the Queen's voice cuts through their struggle like ice water. Are you fighting? Or is this some kind of animal mating ritual I'm not aware of? The entire chamber erupts in laughter. Advisors, guards, servants, everyone joins in the mirth at their expense. Henry and Yari freeze, still entangled on the ground, both suddenly aware of how they must look. Their own teams stand in utter silence, mortification written across every face. The Queen sits back in her throne, looking more amused than she has since arriving. She waits for the laughter to die down, one hand raised for silence. Henry and Yari remain on the ground, both too embarrassed to move first. I remain unconvinced, the Queen announces, her tone suggesting she's enjoying this far more than the original presentation. Each of you will present me with one final argument to help me make my decision. Choose your words or actions carefully. Henry and Yari scramble to their feet, both trying to maintain some dignity despite being covered in dust and scratches. Henry's mind races, trying to think of something compelling to say, but his breath comes in ragged gasps. The fight has drained him more than he'd like to admit. Then inspiration, or perhaps just exhaustion, makes him clever. Ladies first, he wheezes, gesturing to Yari with mock gallantry. She sees right through it, of course. He's buying time to recover, making her speak while winded. But instead of calling him out, she smiles a different smile than before, one that makes Henry nervous down to his bones. She walks slowly toward her team, her breathing evening out with each step. When she reaches them, she retrieves something from a storage box, something that looks like an oversized toy gun, all bright colors and ridiculous proportions, completely out of place in this formal setting. She returns to the platform, raising the device toward Henry. What? Henry says, his tactical overlay completely failing to identify the weapon. Are you going to shoot me now after all that talk about superior armor? Yes, Yari says simply. I am. She pulls the trigger. Henry expects plasma, expects bullets, expects some kind of energy discharge, anything but what he gets. Simple, plain water, like from a child's toy at a summer pool party, splashes across his chest, running into the gaps between armor plates, seeping through seals that hadn't been properly finished. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the sparks start electric arcs dancing across his armor surface like angry spirits. Systems shorting out one by one. His display flickers wildly, error messages cascading faster than he can read them. The strength enhancement dies, making the armor suddenly feel like it weighs a ton. The tactical overlay gives one last valiant attempt at analysis before disappearing entirely. Yari doesn't waste the opportunity. As Henry stands there, frantically trying to run diagnostics, she launches into her final pitch. Your Majesty, the humans came here with a prototype, by their own admission. She turns the water gun on herself, dousing her own armor thoroughly. Not a single spark, not one system failure. The Neve Defensive Systems team came with a finished product, tested and ready. The choice is obvious. The Queen turns her expectant gaze to Henry, waiting for his counter-argument. His team looks panicked. Lucas already pulling out his tablet to try to remotely reset the armor systems, but Henry isn't paying attention to them. He's staring at Yari through his flickering display, watching the overlay struggle to maintain its analysis. The weakness indicators are going crazy, letters and spots appearing and disappearing. But one keeps drawing his attention, not A spot or B spot, but specifically the letter G, glowing steadily on the side of her armor, even as everything else fails. The gears in Henry's head turn despite the pressure, despite the failing armor, despite everything. And suddenly, he's laughing, the genuine laughter of someone who has seen through a perfect illusion. He walks toward Yari, his armor heavy and dead, each step requiring enormous effort. She watches him approach with confident satisfaction, certain of her victory. The entire chamber holds its breath, waiting for his next move. Henry reaches out with one finger and taps a spot on the side of her armor. "Found your G-spot," he says with a smirk, knowing full well the innuendo, but not caring about professionalism anymore. The moment calls for audacity, not restraint. The effect is instantaneous and spectacular. Yari's armor begins ejecting itself piece by piece, each section detaching and falling away like autumn leaves in a windstorm. Shoulder plates fall away, followed by chest pieces, leg guards, all of it clattering to the ground in a cascade of advanced technology, suddenly turned useless. Yar, I stands there, eyes wide with shock, desperately trying to grab falling pieces while covering herself. She wears only a thin undersuit beneath her armor, designed for comfort, not modesty. Her team explodes into panic shouting, some rushing forward to help, others frantically checking their tablets to understand what happened. Henry turns to the Queen, who is now sitting forward, genuinely interested for the first time. "Your Majesty, the Nivs also brought a prototype, a safety feature like that. Instant armor ejection from a single touch. No finished military product would ever have such a vulnerability. They left in a testing feature, probably for quick removal during development." He gestures to his own dead armor, acknowledging its failure with unexpected grace. "Yes, mine has weaknesses too. Waterproofing wasn't complete. But in the end, both teams brought prototypes. Both adapted existing designs for this presentation. The Nive armor's weakness, however, isn't water. It's just a simple tap in the right spot." The Queen's expression goes through several changes, amusement to annoyance to outright anger. She stands from her throne, and when she speaks, her voice carries the kind of royal displeasure that has probably preceded executions in the past. "You dare," she begins, her voice low and dangerous, "to come before the throne of Zorar with incomplete products? You waste my time with prototypes and call them finished? The disrespect shown to my people, to my crown, is too much." She gestures dismissively at both of them, her contempt clear. The humans claim superiority while wearing armor that fails at the touch of water, the most common substance on many planets. And the Nivs, so proud of their resistance, built armor that abandons its wearer at a finger's touch. Henry and Yari exchange a look, tired, embarrassed, but somehow finding a moment of camaraderie in their shared humiliation. There's something almost intimate about failing spectacularly together. The Queen's tongue-lashing continues, each word precise and cutting. "You treat the royal army of Zorar as if we are some backward planet desperate for any technology. As if we would accept whatever scraps you design to throw our way." She draws herself up to her full height, her horns catching the light dramatically. "Both of you leave. Take your prototypes, your sorry alien bodies, and your assumptions, and never darken my palace again. Zorar will find suppliers who respect us enough to bring finished products. The dismissal is absolute." Both teams begin packing immediately, the earlier competition replaced by shared shame. Henry helps Yari gather the pieces of her armor, a strange peace offering in the aftermath of their disaster. She gives him a small nod of thanks, then returns to her team, who surround her protectively as they make their exit. Part 3. From Rivals to Partners, night claims the streets of Zorar's capital, bathing the city in shadows and soft light. Unlike Earth's rigid, geometric cities, Zorar's architecture grows organically from the ground like massive shells, flowing and curving in ways that defy human engineering. Glowing panels provide soft yellow light that makes everything look slightly magical, as if the buildings themselves are alive. Henry walks aimlessly through the commercial district, his hands shoved deep in his pockets, replaying the disaster in his mind like a horror film he can't turn off. Each moment of failure, each misstep the water, the Queen's words, the crushing realization that 3 years of work had culminated in humiliation. His team has returned to their hotel, but Henry couldn't face sitting in a room with them, dissecting their failure. He couldn't bear to see the disappointment in their eyes, knowing he'd let them down. So instead, he wanders alien streets where he can barely read the signs. A stranger in a strange land, with no victories to show for his journey. Maybe he just wants to find some local food, try to get something positive out of this planet, before they skulk back to Earth empty-handed. Maybe he's hoping the night air will clear his head, give him perspective on where to go from here. Or maybe he's just avoiding the inevitable moment when he'll have to face his team and admit that their dream is dead. Admit, hand on his shoulder, makes him jump. He spins around, half expecting trouble, and there is Yari. She's alone, no armor, no team, just her in the soft glow of Zora's night. She wears traditional Neve clothing, flowing fabrics that wrap around her body in complex patterns, leaving her arms bare to show the white stripes that spiral down pink skin like nature's own artwork. Her hair, which had been hidden under the helmet, falls past her shoulders in waves that seem to move with their own rhythm, dot in the lights of Zorar's streets. She looks like something out of a dream. Alien, yes, but beautifully so exotic and familiar all at once. Henry realizes he's staring and quickly tries to compose himself. Can we talk? She asks, her voice different without the armor's modulation. Softer, more gentle, with musical undertones he hadn't noticed before. Maybe over a meal? I promise not to throw water on you. Henry finds himself smiling despite everything, the tension of the day easing slightly. Only if you promise not to hit me again. My face is still ringing. You deserved it, she says. But she's smiling too, a genuine smile this time, not the competitive one from the palace. Come on, I know a place. They walk together through the winding streets, neither speaking at first, both processing the day's events. The restaurant Yari leads them to is small, quiet, tucked into a corner where 3 shell buildings grow together. The proprietor, an elderly Zorian who looks like he might have served the queen's grandmother, seats them in a corner booth without comment, his ancient eyes betraying no judgment about the strange pairing. The initial conversation is awkward starts and stops, both of them dancing around the spectacular failure they'd shared. But then Yari asks a technical question about the stealth system, genuinely curious about how it works, and suddenly they're deep in discussion about photon manipulation and sensor spoofing. That leads to Henry asking about her armor's power distribution, which leads to a detailed explanation of Neve energy matrices. Your strength enhancement is actually brilliant, Henry admits, gesturing with a local fruit that tastes like spiced pears. The way you use the body's own electrical field to trigger the servos, we never thought of that. I say the same thing about your tactical overlay, Yari counters, leaning forward, her eyes bright with technical interest. Real-time weaknesses analysis? We've been trying to develop something similar for years. How did you manage the processing speeds? That's a secret, Henry says with a smile. But I'll admit that the power draw is enormous. That's why the water ... double quotes. He stops, then laughs, the embarrassment fading into self-deprecation. God, water. I can't believe water took me down. I can't believe you found the emergency release, Yari says, shaking her head, her own embarrassment visible. That was supposed to be hidden in the final version. It's just for testing in case someone gets stuck. The overlay tagged it as your G-spot, Henry says, then colors slightly. I probably shouldn't have announced it quite like that. Yari laughs, really laughs. Not the controlled sounds from earlier, but a full-bodied laugh that lights up her face. The Queen's face when you said it. I thought she was going to execute us both right there. Well, she basically did, Henry points out. Verbally, at least. I've never been so thoroughly destroyed by words before. Animal mating ritual? Yari quotes, and they both dissolve into laughter, earning looks from other diners, but not caring. There's something cathartic about laughing at their shared humiliation, transforming it from tragedy to comedy through shared experience. As the evening wears on and local wine flows a sweet, spicy drink that warms the blood, their conversation wanders from technical specifications to stories about their teams, complaints about the Queen, and increasingly personal topics. Henry learns that Yari had fought to lead this presentation against significant opposition. Female knives rarely took such prominent roles, especially in military technology. She'd had to be twice as good as any male competitor just to be considered. YAR. I discovers that Henry had invested his entire life savings into this armor project, believing it would make his career. He'd risked everything on this presentation, turning down safer opportunities to pursue his vision of the perfect battle armor. So what now? Yari asks eventually, swirling the remains of her wine, her voice soft with something like regret. I go back home with nothing, Henry says, staring into his own glass. My team will probably dissolve. 3 years of development, and it ends with me standing in my underclothes in front of royalty. Henry studies her for a moment, watching the play of light across her exotic features. An idea begins to form in his mind. Crazy, probably impossible, definitely inadvisable. He's had too much of this alien wine to be making business decisions. But something about the way she'd matched him move for move, the way her mind worked through technical problems, the way she was smiling sadly at her wine. Come to earth, he says suddenly, the words escaping before he can analyze them. She looks up, surprised. What? I'm serious. The idea solidifies as he speaks, excitement building. Come to earth. Bring your team if they'll come. We'll combine our technologies, your armor's resistance with our stealth and overlay systems. Start a company together. The words tumble out faster as the vision crystallizes. Think about it. Both of our teams together, we could create something actually revolutionary, not just adapted prototypes. Henry, she starts, but he's on a roll now. The possibilities unfolding before him like a map to treasure. Earth's military has deeper pockets than the deepest ocean trenches. They're always looking for advancements, and they don't care about ceremony like the Queen. He leans forward, his eyes bright with renewed purpose. With your armor's foundation and our technical overlay, we could create the perfect system. We already know each other's weaknesses, literally. We could eliminate them together. Yari falls silent, her fingers tracing patterns on the table. The restaurant has grown quiet around them, most other patrons having left. Henry waits, his heart beating faster than it had during the fight. He realizes how much he wants her to say yes, not just for the business opportunity, but for reasons he's not ready to examine too closely. Is this a business proposal? She finally asks, not looking at him. Or are you asking me on a date? Henry's brain short-circuits. I what? No, I mean... He stops, takes a breath, suddenly aware of the deeper implications of his offer. Maybe ... Actually, yes, both. Definitely both. If ... if you want. Or just business, or... She laughs, cutting off his rambling. You're terrible at this. Well, I'm better with armor than people, he admits, running a hand through his hair. I noticed. She's quiet for another moment, then smiles that mischievous smile from the palace, but warmer now, with something like affection. I'll have to convince my team about the company. They're not going to be happy about partnering with humans, especially after today. She meets his eyes, and there's a promise there, a new beginning. But I'll come to Earth, even if it's just for the date.